Hey everyone. I am really excited to be back in the aquarium hobby after about a year and a half off. I've been keeping aquariums for about 25 years, and this past year and a half has been the longest time I've ever not had one. So setting one up over the last couple days has been really fun, really interesting. I've been reading forums and watching YouTube like crazy, so I'm super excited to check out the local aquarium stores in the new city that I've moved to, and meet up with other people here who do aquariums, and just yeah, get really immersed back in it. So I am working right now with a tank that I bought here used. I think it's a 5-gallon. I don't actually have the measurements, but it looks like a 5-gallon to me. I know, that's helpful, huh? I have got, for a substrate, I've got the Amazonia Amano soil, which is very expensive. I hope it's worth it. It was like 18 bucks for a little bag. But if I know anything about planted tanks, it's that they need a nice rich substrate, that the plants need to get most of their nutrients from the substrate rather than the water column. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that that was a good investment. Other than that, I am currently using sorry, this is super bright, a desk light, gooseneck fixture with a big, huge bulb that's actually from my photography equipment, but it's a daylight rated bulb. It's very bright. It's probably too much light for this tank. So I've got that going. One of the first things that I did actually was bring in a plant from outside to put in my filter. At my last house, I ran a lot of plants in a pond filter, and found that to be... Stop! Echo, stop! Sorry. Dog alert. Stop! Okay, so I think that plants really work well in filters for ponds and aquariums. This corkscrew rush had already been growing. Stop it, sweetie! It had already been growing in a pond outside, so it's got its hydroponic root. And this is the filter I've got going. Stop! Sorry. The filter that I have is rated for up to 20 gallons. They didn't have any mini filters at the store that I went to. And an interesting thing about where I live in Portland, Oregon is there don't seem to be discount pet stores. Like, I'm from Michigan, and we had Pet Supplies Plus and a couple other ones. I haven't seen anything like that here. So, I mean, it's nice that there's not a lot of chain stores for pet supplies, but sometimes you just want something cheap. Up here, this is new water lettuce and a little bit of duckweed, and you can see the roots down here. I've got Cryptocorin Wendy Red. I've got some Java Fern back there, and some Java Fern, I forgot what that variety is with the ruffled edges, but the ruffled edge variety. So let's see, I've only got really Java Moss and Cryptos and water lettuce in the tank. So this has been set up like this for, I think, 3 days, and I'm seeing a tiny bit of algae, but not much. I haven't put in any fertilizers. Obviously there's no fish. I'm just going to let it cycle without fish, because I don't want to kill anything. My plan for this tank is to have it fully planted and have some glass catfish. They're my favorite fish, and I absolutely miss them and love them and want them back in my life. Moving on to the problematic area of my tank, I tried to set up DIY CO2 yesterday. I had a Hagen system, you know, the Hagen ladder thing, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when I first got into Planet Tanks, and that worked okay. And then after that I got into pressurized CO2, which worked great. Currently, because this tank is tiny and I don't really want to spend $200 on a CO2 system, I'm not purchasing one. So I have been reading and reading and reading about DIY CO2, and I'll show you my rig back here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I guess is what I want to express with this. I've got these are all Gatorade bottles. I'm not sure how big they are, but these are all Gatorade bottles with 1 cup sugar, 1 cup water, and about a quarter, maybe even an 1/8 teaspoon of active dry yeast in each of the 2 bottles. And then I made holes in these actually with a screwdriver. I don't have a drill. I made holes in these, put in airline tubing, and oh sorry you can't see. Put in the airline tubing and then ran it to a 3rd Gatorade bottle, which acts as a bubble counter, and as you can see, there's no bubbles coming out of either bottle. Both bottles are showing, you know, yeast bubbling action, kind of one more than the other. So I'm not sure if there's a leak. I think the most likely cause is that there's a leak, but I don't know. So from the bubble counter bottle, this goes to a check valve, and then the check valve goes down to my glass nano diffuser. And I've also heard from people at the pet store that these nano diffusers aren't going to work with DIY CO2. I've read online that they do work with DIY CO2, so I bought it. It was like $10. I bought it anyway. But really, the problem is I'm apparently not getting any CO2 into the bubble counter in the first place, so I can't even tell if it's going to go out the diffuser. So I don't know. If anyone has any ideas, I would love to hear them. Now we're getting a couple bubbles because I shook the bottle, but it's been probably 12 hours since I set up the CO2 reactors. So I feel like there should be some bubble action. There's not any bubble action. Like there is when I shake them like that, but there's not any bubble action on their own. So if anyone has any ideas about that, I would love to hear them. Yeah, so other than that, I'm pretty happy with how the plants are growing. My goal is to get some driftwood probably and fill this up, make kind of an Amazon scape. I did buy some black sand to put over this gravel, mainly because I wanted a really black substrate, but this substrate is pretty darn black anyway, so I may not do the gravel. I don't know. So yeah, that is about